services, what we're talking about here is every person who is arrested for a misdemeanor or a felony and is charged and comes before the court needs to have their bond set. It's always been some form of money bond is put on this person, and if they post, great. If they don't post, then they are in custody. One thing everybody agrees with is that nobody should sit in jail simply because they can't afford their bond. Bond is to be set for two primary reasons by the U.S. Constitution. It's to be set in accordance with the judge's determination as to whether or not, the defendant in front of them is likely to return to court. What bond needs to be set to sort of encourage and confirm that this person will come back to court, and two, a bond that is set to most likely guarantee that the person will not commit another offense while he's out on bond on a pretrial basis. Those are the only two factors that a judge is supposed to consider when setting a bond. And our judges do a great job of doing that. But there's a nationwide movement on right now that believes that bond too often is being set just to keep people in jail and not giving enough consideration to those two factors I just mentioned. And Illinois is starting to move away from money bonds and moving towards either after the judge hears what they need to hear, either just keep them without bond, retain them without bond, or let them out without bond, without a money bond. If they let them out, then there would be under this thought that there would be certain conditions that would be placed on them because they are getting out, and the conditions can be anywhere from pretty limited to say just texting or calling a probation officer to be sure everything's still okay with them, all the way up to ankle bracelets, breathalyzers, GPS systems, which is a separate item on your agenda here that Darren and I have been deeply involved with. Probably since last summer we started looking at people, but separate issue I'll get to in a moment. But so there's actually two phases to a pretrial services program, which most circuits in the state, there's 24 circuits in the state of Illinois, we're the 12th circuit, most don't have a pretrial services program. Many do. Most of the collar counties do. I think we're the last collar county that didn't have a pretrial service program. Pretrial services, again, two phases. First phase is that the pretrial service program, by the way, which is a division of the probation department, just so you're aware of that, where that department's coming from. So a probation officer that's in pretrial services will do an assessment of everybody that's arrested and charged with a misdemeanor or a felony right away within when they're arrested and they're detained before their first bond hearing, whether it be a weekend, a holiday, or Monday through Friday. They will do an interview of the defendant. They will do a background check of the defendant. There's several assessment tools. The Illinois Supreme Court has not yet picked the tool or the vendor that they're going to use on a standard-wide basis throughout the state, but the one most widely used is out of Virginia, and we're going to use that one because we think it's going to be that one or one close to it anyway. So we're training. We've trained these pretrial service probation officers to make an assessment of all these people. And we're talking about there's an average in Will County of about 3,000 misdemeanors newly charged a year and about 3,000 felonies newly charged per year. So you're talking about 6,000 assessments in a year, so you're talking about quite a few. But this assessment provides basically a score. After they do their complete assessment, they give that assessment to the judge. There's a grid of a score, and that judge will have that tool or that resource to use during the bond hearing to use to help determine what an appropriate bond will be. It will still be a money bond in Illinois. I don't think they're going to go to a full no money bond program for a while, at least a year, if not more. I don't think there's anything up on that in the legislature this year at all. But they are moving slowly towards that. And the judges but we want the judges now to be able to use this tool to reduce bond potentially where it makes sense, where this assessment tool will help the judge understand the likelihood of this person's ability to come back to court and this person's ability not to commit other offenses while they're out of custody. So, so this part we're phasing in tomorrow. They're going to start these assessments tomorrow. This isn't a cost to the county, this phase, because we've identified within the probation budget 6 probation officers, 2 newly hired and 4 that have been taken from other divisions within the department. So we're training 6 officers to do this, and then we can start doing the assessments tomorrow. Now it's probably a good time to give you an idea of what we're doing with from a personnel standpoint, because the second phase is the one that you're going to be more concerned with, and Darren's been working strongly with us about it, and that's the monitoring phase, which is going to be bringing a vendor on board who's going to be providing the services that, of course, we're going to be needing to pay for those defendants that might have felonies that are more serious, but we still might be inclined to let them out if they were going to be on a GPS breathalyzer, things like that. So, but to go back to the personnel, Kane County has this program already in place. They have 200,000 people less than us in their county, and they have 9 full-time pretrial officers that they keep busy all the time. And I've met with the chief judge from Kane County, so I have gotten this information. They have 9 that they have fully trained to do pretrial services, including assessments and monitoring. Lake County is our size, almost exactly, within a few thousand people population. Either we're a little bigger, they're a little bigger, I'm not sure. But they have 12 full-time pretrial probation officers dedicated just to this. And Kane County, for instance, they average 2,500 to 2,700 people being monitored on a pretrial basis at any one particular time, and they average between 60 and 70 people, for instance, on an ankle bracelet at any one time. 60 to 70. So we're going to average at least that much because we just simply have more people. It's just going to happen. So those sheer numbers should be indicative of all of us as to what we should be looking for in terms of ultimate personnel. Although all of our motivations might be a little different, depending on who we are, whether county board members or judges or jail people, sheriff's department. But I think where we're all on the same page is that we're looking not to keep people in jail longer than they should be kept for whatever reasons. It's in a lot of cases it's simply the right thing to do. Like I said, from a judicial perspective, we don't want to have people in jail simply because they can't afford the bond. But from your perspective, from the jail perspective, getting these people out will save a considerable amount of money. And the chief judges that I talked to in Lake and Kane confirmed that. We have a jail population of anywhere between 700 and 800 on a daily basis, and I think that you're looking at, and I don't remember what the cost of. Darren, you and I have met with the sheriff, and they gave us numbers, hard numbers and soft numbers as to what it is on a daily basis for to house somebody over there. But it's a lot cheaper to pay $5 to $10 a day as opposed to $50 to $100 a day, depending on what number you're using. So that's why we're all looking at this very hard. It blends very nicely in with your committee's looking at the alternatives incarceration program that you're looking at, and that's where I also wanted to bring up. And you may not know this because this was something that was done between the health department and the jail. And that's why Julie is here, is that they have done something that appears to be inconsistent with what we're trying to do here, to get people out on a timely basis of jail so they're not overly detained and costing us more money and taxpayer services. It's since mental health court began in 2010, between the health department and the jail, they have provided 3 full-time people to help mental health court. And it started with only 2 people, by the way. Mental health court has grown significantly. I can discuss that in a moment, too. But the jail and the health department always provided 3 people that would come in and help with mental health court, whether or not the participant in mental health was in custody, detained. They would come over. They were outstanding. They were very helpful with assessments, with treatment, with group meetings. Not just court on Tuesday. We do mental health court every Tuesday. It's presided over by Judicial. But they do this work for everybody in the program. And as to the numbers, Julie and I met last week, and I'm going by memory, but I believe Julie told me she's going to correct me if I'm wrong, but there's from starting with a few in 2010, we now have between 25 and 30 already currently in the program, participating under contract, and we have at least the same number, 25 to 30, that are in some phase prior to signing their contract. Julie?
That's correct.
Okay. And that program is growing. All the specialty courts are growing. Drug court, ARA court, and veterans court. They're all growing, and there's a reason for it, because those programs work. I don't know if you've been to any graduations yet from any of them. I would encourage you to do so. But I can't tell you, when I first became a judge 15 years ago, that I was a huge believer. It was a new program down here, but I'm a huge believer in these programs. Just the recidivism rates are amazing. I mean, you're looking at if somebody just serves their time in jail or in prison, the recidivism rate is over 50%. Julie,
way
over. It can be closer to 70 or 80%, where they're going to get out of jail and recommit. The recidivism rate for anybody graduating these specialty courts is, are we under 10% at this point?
Depends on whether you're looking at misdemeanors, traffic, but between 10 and 20.
So that number alone, and these people are coming out. They don't graduate unless they are already productive members of the community. Paid all their fines, they've done their education, they've done their community service work, they have jobs, and very, very successful programs. And part of that is mental health court, where we have these people that are helping these people that need this mental health treatment. I think we all know, we've come to understand that too often jails are being used simply to house mental health patients. It's the percentage of people, that 800 people that daily in jail, the number of custodies on any one time on a daily basis that are on some sort of psychotropic medication is something like 65 or 70%.
Those are psychotropic medicines.
The percentage on a daily basis of inmates that are on some form of psychiatric or psychotropic medication.
Around 60%. Armando Reyes is from the health department. He's here also.
60%. It's a huge number, and these people need treatment. And the point I'm getting to here is that unbeknownst to me, and unbeknownst to the specialty courts and Julie until basically the last moment, the health department and the jail entered into a memorandum of understanding where they were only going to commit, they weren't going to allow any more of their workers to be involved with those in the specialty courts, particularly mental health court, that were not in custody. So it does affect severely our ability in specialty courts to be sure that these people not only get the treatment they want, but keep them out of custody. Because the only way they get treatment is if they're in custody. Then when you put them in custody, now you're housing them again. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. So I have Julie here, and Julie brought Armando for all of us to encourage you to look into this, because at the end of March?
They signed it in the middle of February, and it's been,
But you've lost your-
it's now effective.
so
So
you-
they can't do therapy on anybody on the outside. They can do assessments for those in custody, but they can't go to the health department and do any of the groups, and they can't do any of the therapy. So now we have, they took one person from adult behavioral health that typically has a caseload of 160 people at the health department, divvied up those 160 people to other adult behavioral health counselors, gave them even more people, and gave us one position that will now have to do the therapy for all of those people and all the groups.
And as we grow the specialty courts, because we want to grow them for all the reasons that we've already discussed, that seems to be inconsistent with what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just don't think, I didn't know it, I don't think that you know it.
I wasn't aware of that.
So from a cost perspective, it doesn't make any sense to us. And then obviously from the probability that you're going to decrease the effectiveness of mental health court, you're going to create more custodies that need treatment that are going to be in jail, it's going to take longer to make these people productive members in their community, and you're going as these people come in to decide, because we can't force them into mental health court or any of the specialty courts, they have to choose to do this. And if it looks like they're not going to get the treatment, or if they're being told by current participants that there are problems with time and treatment, they may not exercise their opportunity to use the specialty courts. And that is a huge problem.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, a question with that, Judge. I used to do in-home family therapy through the DuPage courts, and would do sometimes, and have the courts actually write decrees that they would have to go to counseling. Are you all using that? Is there any kind of sliding scale that people are setting up for folks? I mean, I totally understand and agree with exactly where you're headed with this. As part of the mental health courts, you set up criteria for which the person that's participating has to achieve, correct?
Yes.
Could not one of those also be them going to counseling services, whether through the health department as an individual if they're out and they're a citizen of this community, of this county, they are eligible to go in and receive mental health services in our health department with different sliding scales, or they could be ordered to receive private counseling if that be the case. Is that not?
Judges can order that and have done that. We've done that for years.
So how does that play into the conversation that you're having?
Mental health court is, as all specialty courts, is more effective because there's more of a hammer over their heads to do it through them, because if they successfully complete those courts and graduate, the offenses for which they were charged originally are either dismissed, basically.
And I'm not saying not to have them go through the mental health courts. I'm saying restructuring the counseling services that they would potentially have to go through.
All right. I'm not as, I'd have to defer to Julie for that one, because operationally, I'm not as much into the
I understand.
detail.
Okay, so the people that are in adult mental health court, for the most part, have target diagnoses. Schizophrenia, major depressive disorder, bipolar, PTSD.
Right.
These are fragile individuals that are also involved in the criminal justice system. So they're a danger to public safety.
Understood.
So when they come into mental health court, they get a host of services. They get a group on Monday that teaches them mental health skills. They get process groups, then they get individual therapy. Often once a week or once every 2 weeks. People that already have 160 people on their caseload can't provide the kind of services that our people require. And if there's a crisis, when I met with the health department, they said, well, we could plug them in with, there must be an open slot on one of these people that already has these 160 people. Well, Reagan knows some of our people take 2 or 3 months before they're actually able to open up and talk about these things. I'm not saying the people that are already seeing these adult behavioral health people don't need services also, but for the most part, they're not involved in the criminal justice system and don't require the level of services that our people do. So besides,
Understood. So my question is, why is there, I mean, not every one of these folks are so poor that they can't afford, some probably are, that they can't afford mental health services or being able to get private. For those that can, being a participant in the court process means that you have to go through certain counseling
correct.
activities. Whether those happen within the mental health of the health department or a private mental health agency, because they're referred to, because I know all those diagnoses that you're talking about. I've worked with every single one of them, so I understand what you're saying. So I'm just trying to understand how much is being, none right now is being deferred out to any private
If
counseling.
people have private insurance, if you have Blue Cross and you prefer to
Okay.
go to a doctor at Linden Oaks, you absolutely can.
So they can
The-
participate in the court
the-
through that, okay?
The host of our people are either have no insurance or they're on public aid.
Right.
You know, when this first happened, when they were going to close down that part of the health department and eliminate all those positions, I went out into the community because I remember John Cicero telling me, oh, there's plenty of services out there for people. It would have taken 6 months to get an appointment at Aunt Martha's. Most counselors don't take public aid. You know, drug court even, we pay for people to go to counseling and I negotiate a fee, but I'm not getting anybody for less than 60 bucks an hour to go in and talk to people. And the health department right now, they come into staffing every week and give us an update on what people are doing. So we have hands-on knowledge of what's going on with these people so the judge can interact with them. And that's a big thing with the specialty courts. 3 minutes with each individual person makes that court that much more effective because they know that the judge has a relationship with them and knows what's going on. Trying to get a report from an outside psych or an outside counselor is not as easy as you might think, and it certainly doesn't tell us what's going on with that person. And then if there's a crisis, you know, trying to send them to somebody else at the health department that has 160, I can fit you in for 20 minutes on Wednesday between 3 and 3:20, isn't the same as being able to call your therapist at the health department and say, look, I am really struggling, and they can get them in oftentimes that day or the next day to bring them down a level and make them be successful. You know, the goal of mental health court is to increase public safety and to give these people the tools to deal with their mental illness for their lifetime. I
There's no
hesitate
argument
to
with
say,
that.
why are we trying to fix what's not broken?
what
And
is-
So I don't
What's the
understand
cure?
the problem then, okay?
What's the
What's-
I mean, are we looking for?
So what is the question?
I
Yeah.
understand there's been a change in the contract, but arguably it's not the sheriff doesn't even have authority to provide health care or mental health services to someone who is not in the jail. So it sounds to me, and I'm just listening to this, I didn't review the contract, it sounds to me like the agreement needs to be restructured between maybe the mental health court and the health department, or someone else, and maybe we need to sit down and talk about that. I mean, so that's why I'm asking,
Mary,
what is the solution?
If I may answer that question, all I'm looking to do today, I didn't mean to spring this on you, but I just learned about it last week, so I knew that you probably didn't know about this. I'm just asking you to look into this and to look into restoring, at a minimum, restoring what we had before because that was working. And restructure the contract or the memorandum any way it's necessary in order to restore that. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, we can talk about that, but if it's to have the sheriff provide mental health services,
No,
I don't
that's
think
not,
that's the answer.
that's not what we're.
And that's what I was trying to find out,
No.
is that what's the goal?
The goal is to keep our
Maintain.
services going, so, yeah.
Right.
And I know that we don't have much time, but I wanted to get to one of the issues with the monitoring. There's going to be a cost involved once we implement that phase, which I hope to be sometime this summer. We're trying to balance, we looked at vendors, Darren and I and several others that are involved have looked at 3 vendors, I believe. And we'd like to select a vendor at some point to move forward with providing us the equipment necessary. They all have different ways, different kinds of equipment, I'm talking about GPSs, ankle bracelets, breathalyzers, things like that. They have different ways of implementing those programs and monitoring those programs. And I'd like to work with you closely before we actually pull the trigger on that. And I don't know whether or not that's something that needs to be done through an RFP through this committee, through the county board, or whether or not I can simply meet with Darren, wherever Darren appoints the other stakeholder, the public defender's office, the probation department, and so forth, and select a vendor. I want to be sure that it's justified to all of us, that it's financially, economically worthwhile to select that particular vendor, so that we're not losing money in the long run, in a sense. I want it to make sense to us that we're going to put, as I said earlier, if we're going to put 60 people, for instance, on an ankle bracelet, whereas otherwise they would have been in jail for somewhere from $1,500 a day. If they're out, and a lot of them can pay for their own ankle bracelets, they have jobs. I mean, people are always in front of the court, and their lawyers are arguing to the judge, lower the bond because otherwise he's going to lose his job. Well, sometimes you put their money where their mouth is and say, okay, if you say you can do this, and for a DUI, put on an ankle bracelet, for instance, and we'll let you out. But then they can pay for their own. A lot of them will be able to pay for their own. But and we're looking at $8, $10, $12 a day, basically, for a lot of this equipment per individual. And DuPage has a program where they charge the people that can afford it. I think it's $8 a day that it's the agreement they worked out with their vendor. They add $3 to all those who can pay for it. And so it's $11 a day, and that $3 helps pay for the indigents who can't afford it. So there's less of a cost to the county. There might be a startup cost to the county, although I don't know what that might be, but we haven't gotten that far into it. But I want to as quickly as we can. So I'm not sure what direction that you want me to take with this, but I'd like to start moving on that.
Well, our initial discussion was that you felt that you might have those revenues available along with Johnson's and probation to make that initial purchase.
Yes, I'm hopeful that we can get something done with our budgets, our current budgets, between now and at least the time that you all set next year's budgets. Because by then, hopefully, you'll know the numbers, we'll know what we need, I'm hopeful because every year I've been chief, and chief before me, we always try to lap something back to you, and so I'm hopeful that there's money that we can transfer within our own budgets for that purpose. It'd more likely be my budget than probation, because we've already discussed the pretrial services, and we're trying to bump that up. Oh, and I need to tell you, I know that we're out of time, but the Supreme Court is very much on this, just like the Juvenile Holiday Court. They're very much they're the ones that are sort of initiating all of this, and they have submitted a budget request to the legislature for enough money to help pay for 125 additional full-time pretrial probation workers statewide. I'm thinking that even if they got 90 or 100 positions, certainly a good number, maybe 40 or 50% might go to Cook, I don't know, because they're by far the largest. But us being the third or fourth largest county, I would hope that we could get maybe 2 or 3 of those positions. And that would be funded then by the state. Much of probation is funded by the state anyway. The money's administered by the county, for those of you who know that. But I think about 80 or 85% of all probation services in Will County, which is, and it's very expensive, is funded by the state too, and sent to the county. But they're trying to do more spots. So I'd love to get us up to 9, even 12 spots, and that's just going to be a work in progress, and I'll be reporting back to you if I need your help in supporting my request for money for these positions. I'm not doing it now.
Chief, I just had a couple questions, and I'm going to kind of take you back, and they're over. I'm just going to hold you for just a minute longer here. Could you just explain to the committee why it's important that we continue having money bond as an option? I know that there is an impact to the county financially.
Yes. There's probably several reasons why I like money bond. I do believe it's a deterrence to committing other offenses and to be sure you show up to court. But your question goes directly to how it might affect the county, and it does. We set bond in accordance with a lot of factors. But sometimes we'll set bond in the sum of $1 million, $2 million. It could be a murder case, it could be a sex abuse case, it could be residential burglary with a weapon, it could be anything. And sometimes people post bonds. A lot of bonds are set, perhaps in the felony, they're set in the $15,000 to $50,000 range, and a lot of those bonds are paid by the defendant, by the defendant's mother, by the grandfather. Somebody will pay that bond. And then at the end of the case, and I'm guessing 90-some% of all cases end in some sort of a plea, negotiated plea. That's my guess. And that plea always includes the payment of fines and costs. Well, if they have bond up, by law, that bond is first applied to their costs and their fines. And then next to any other costs, like attorneys, like that person's attorney's fees, they'll come in and say, can I have a piece of the bond to help pay me? And that's perfectly okay. And then whatever might be left, then might go back to the person who posted the bond. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm sure it's easily 7 figures. It's got to be $1 million a year that gets back to the county, to you, to your general fund or to whatever the funds that this money goes to directly. That goes to fund a variety of things. And if we go to no money bond, that will disappear. That just won't happen anymore because nobody will be posting money bond.
Will it disappear, or will it just have to be in a collection service process? Because we're still going to collect the same fees. We're still going to go after that, but it's going to cost us money to actually go after it.
You'll go after it, but it's still.
That's what I mean. It's going to cost us money to go after it, whether we see it or not.
The problem with that is that you no longer have grandmothers or grandfathers or mothers or parents or brothers
being sorry because they're sitting in jail.
After the fact, and they're already out of jail.
Yeah, I understand. And Dan, if I could, a follow-up question to that. If you have a bond, or you have the option of bond, and we're going to the ankle bracelet, would that be a decision process where you're going to give an ankle bracelet versus a bond, or a combination with maybe a lower bond? How would that work?
Right now, that's exactly how it works. I'm completely in favor of these assessment tools because it gives the judge another resource, another way to help be sure that the bond he sets is as correct a bond as it can possibly be, given the standards that we have to apply. And so I'm not in favor of eliminating bonds. I'm telling you it may be coming. I'm not in favor of it. I'm in favor of using these tools in order to help the judge perhaps lessen bond to make it more affordable for the defendant, who they can then post bond, with that defendant knowing, okay, well now, but in response, the moment I get out, I'm ordered to report to probation, to pretrial services, in order to have a breathalyzer installed on my cell phone or an ankle bracelet for GPS, whether it be radio controlled or satellite controlled, whatever it is. All these vendors that have talked to us about this. But yeah, if where I might set a $20,000 bond on a class 4 drug possession charge, I might be more inclined to say, watch out, I'm going to get a $5,000 bond, but you're going to wear a GPS, you're going to house arrest, something. And if you follow through with it, maybe I can do something more months down the road, assuming the case is still pending.
Did you say a breathalyzer on your cell phone?
I think one of the vendors.
One of them has it, yeah. Wow. It actually takes a picture of you while you're actually doing the breathalyzer, so you can has facial recognition.
So you're not actually having somebody else blow.
Right.
Wow.
Technology can be cool.
Wow. We're scary.
Let me jump to
That's why I said can be.
I wanted to make sure everybody heard that because money bond issues are a big issue. I am in total agreement. We don't want to keep people in jail because they can't afford bonds, but it needs to be another tool that the judge can use at that time. So I'm going to jump over to just the assessing that the probation officers are doing. Are we assessing? I know we're assessing for the criminal element risk. Are we also assessing for the mental health issues?
That's part of the assessment.
Okay.
I have not seen the assessment tool itself. I will not be trained on it.
Okay.
The judge was simply told, this is what, if they want to be trained on the underlying reasons for it, the different, for instance, Do they have an address? Do they live somewhere? Can they report this address, and can that be visited to verify they have that address? Is very important to the issue of, they have found out through statistics, it's very important to the issue of whether or not they're likely to return to court. So they do these interviews, they do these background checks, and they do as much verification as they possibly can before they give the assessment to the judge. The judge will be able to use that to lessen bond but not eliminate bond.
Sure.
Does that answer your question?
It does, because it's one of the goals that we've started talking about last year was these alternatives to incarceration, and it very much includes identifying individuals with mental health issues early on in the process. In doing so, it's my expectation that we bring the health department aboard to work with us and see what type of assessment tools that they have, so that there's a qualified individual going through, that screening and assessment, so that we can provide those services that these mental health individuals are going to need. And so that further concerns me of what you reported to us today about the recent contract that was changed between the health department and the mental health courts. And so we're going to have to swing back around and follow up on that, because that's the direction we're headed. I'm concerned about the timing of why this contract has all of a sudden been rewritten or renegotiated when we've been heading in this direction for over a year.
And Darren, I'm not trying to throw shade on the jail or on the health department. It's not the jail's job to provide mental health treatment for people that aren't in custody. And the health department's having tremendous problems with the state budget, or lack of the state budget. In fact, over the last couple of years, because of that with the health department, I've had to move fitness and sanity evaluations for mental health defendants out to River Valley. So the state gave us money through probation to hire 2 psychologists, which some circuits, some chief judges did not accept. I chose to accept it because this was coming, and otherwise we would have been doing sanity and fitness evaluations privately to the tune of probably $1,200 to $1,500 per evaluation, as opposed to doing them in-house. And I'm talking about $150 to $200 a year. So, I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but even I can do those numbers. And the state's going to give us money, I'm going to take it.
Right.
And that's what we did. But that's the problem, that's a similar problem that we face here. And that's why I'm not sure what the solution is. I'm certainly asking all the stakeholders, you, us, the specialty court people, and the sheriff, and the health department to get together on this.
I agree. We'll get that taken care of so that we can start moving forward on this. See, I don't know what the solution is today, but we need to sit down and talk about it.
Appreciate it.
Those were just the 2 questions that I had. Anyone else before we let the chief judge go? No? All right.
Thank you all for your
Thank you, Judge.
giving me the opportunity to come speak before you. Hope to do it more often.
Thank you very much. Is there any other new business? I don't believe there's any to discuss. Any public comment? Public comment? Hearing no public comment. Chairman's report, there was no executive session. Can we get a motion for adjournment? Second? All in favor? All opposed? All right. Our next meeting is May 2nd, 9 a.m. here at 2017. Thank you very much, everyone.
See how tough the camera is.